Hello friends, welcome. Today is the first video I'm making since I posted my first initial Reddit video, and I just wanted to say thank you for the views, the likes, the subscriptions. I really do appreciate it. It really motivates me to continue to go and keep making videos because people are watching them, and I'm getting some likes on them. People are subscribing to the channel, so thank you so much for that. Mwah, I love you guys. So today we're going to be doing another AITA video, but before we start that, let's do the intro. So the first story reads, AITA for leaving my husband at home while I spend the week at my brother's because of how he buys groceries. I've been in a committed relationship with my husband for 17 years, and overall, things have been great. We've had a few rough patches, but what's important to note is that while he earns more than me and is considered the main provider, I have a substantial trust fund that ensures we are financially stable. I work part-time as a teacher while attending university, earning less than him, and most of my income goes towards tuition. Our household income exceeds $200,000 annually, while the average in our area is below $50,000. So here we have a wife writing a story, basically setting up the scene to let us know that they are a pretty well-off family. They make $200,000 roughly, a year. And, they seem like they don't really need anything from anyone. So now let's get to the mess. The ongoing issue we have is my husband's frugality. He likes to control my spending and have the final say on how he uses his earnings. It's worth mentioning that I've never used any of his income and I have no intention to do so. However, the main point of contention between us is his frequent visits to food banks. Despite having more than enough food at home, he insists on going to food banks to save money. He intentionally looks disheveled and uses our beat up car to blend in, even though he's never experienced food scarcity. I've explained to him the need for food and donations in our community, even showing him social media posts from our local food banks, but he remains indifferent. I suggest he volunteer or donate to gain first-hand experience, but he refuses. The unfortunate part is that since we're never short on food, most of what he brings home ends up getting thrown away. Wow. So this is bad. This is bad. You're making $200,000 a year while the average income yearly for the community is $50,000. That's $150,000 more than the annual. And for you to feel like you need to dress down and drive your raggedy car to a food bank to get free food when you do not need it because you can financially afford it, it's disgusting. I'm fortunate enough to never have had to go to get food from a food bank, but I know that the supplies are probably scarce. I don't know if they have just like a lot of people donating. Every year in my city, they have this yearly thing where the mailman, you leave a couple of cans or, dry food in a bag and the mailman will pick it up. They do it once a year. We always participate in that. But other than that, I haven't donated anything outside of that. So to me, it's just like he's pretty much taken advantage of the community. Today, I discovered our fridge filled with fresh produce and meat that clearly didn't come from our regular grocery store. When I confronted him, he admitted to going to a food bank after seeing a Facebook post about a donation of fresh food. People on social media were already asking if any was left, and there wasn't. I showed him these comments, but he brushed them off, claiming people should have gone earlier. Exhausted by the situation, I packed the bag and went to stay with my brother for the weekend, asking for space to think things over. I know that's right. This a-hole, we're not even through the story. And I don't know where, I think the part where she's going to ask about being the a-hole is probably like, am I the a-hole for leaving? When we all know that her husband is clearly the a-hole for going to food banks and taking the fresh produce from people who possibly needs them. Fresh produce. People were asking if they still had any. And he was like, they should have gone earlier. Are you kidding me? My husband accuses me of overreacting, being vindictive, and threatened to go back to the food bank regardless of my feelings. His family is also messaging me, calling me the AH for urging me to stop interfering with his choices. I turned off my phone, but now they're bombarding my brother with messages. Thankfully, he supports my decisions and ignores them. All I want is to enjoy the rest of my week without being angry at my husband. Yes, I could let this go and not scold him, but the food he takes could have gone to people who truly need it. I'm not leaving my husband, but I need a few days away to gain some clarity. Am I wrong for wanting this space? So just to start, no, you're not wrong for wanting this space. You're not the AH in the situation. Let's just start off with that. You're good. You're fine. For me, it just comes to question is the OP said they've been married for 17 years. So I'm wondering if this is something that has been going on for 17 years and the fresh produce thing kind of pushed her over the line. Because at this point, like with fresh produce, that is something I know. Like I'm not sure about cans and like rice and all the dry food products at the food banks. I'm not sure how much they have in stock. But when it comes to fresh food, those expire pretty quickly. So I'm sure that they received the shipment and then they posted on Facebook and people who needed it in the community went down and got it. And for me, I would say she should just get a divorce. You got your trust fund, you got your job, you're in school, so I'm sure you don't like need him. I mean, she probably loves him, which okay, girl, all right. But you have a trust fund. Your husband made $200,000 a year. It is ridiculous to when you really think about the fact that he changes his clothes and drives their beat up looking car to go down there and try to trick these people into thinking that he needs this food. If it wasn't a big deal, he would just go down there casually without having to, make theater of it and dress up and, become an actor now. They live in a $50,000 average income earning area. And, $50,000 is really not that much these days. And the whole situation is pretty much sad. It kind of reminds me of the Brett Favre situation. So if you don't know about the Brett Favre situation, he pretty much stole $77 million from Mississippi's welfare funds to build a volleyball court or stadium pretty much for his daughter. And with Brett Favre, when it comes to the media or whatever, he pretty much acted like he didn't know that was where the money was coming from. But I mean, we know that he must have knew, because that's capitalism. That's America. Like a lot of these people that are really wealthy, really rich, they get that from being able to steal from, or not, I guess stealing, but taking from the less fortunate. And they built their wealth on the backs of the misfortunate people in this society. And that's pretty much, what it is. In order to be like filthy, stinking rich, you either have to be extremely talented and know how to invest and create multiple businesses and work really, really hard, or you can kind of scam the less fortunate people out of their resources and use it for yourself, and then you can kind of save your money and things like that. So this is what that situation reminds me of, Brett Favre. But in this case, he's completely aware, because Brett Favre allegedly wasn't aware that he was stealing from the Mississippi. He wasn't aware that he stole $77 million from the Mississippi welfare funds. And it's like, for me, I'm a little bit frugal, and instead of going to food banks and stealing from people, I just take a little bit of time to look through the weekly deals on like Tops Market or, our local Wegmans. I'll go and look to see like, oh, okay, well, I want some steak. Let me look. Oh, the steak is $8.99 a pound here, but over here it's, $7.99. It takes a little bit more extra work, but I'm not stealing food from less fortunate people that actually cannot afford groceries at all. But to me, it sounds like your husband is just really like a narcissist. And I don't like to really use that word because I know what it means, but I'm not like the narcissist police. Like, I know it's more so about like yourself and the world kind of revolving around you in a sense. And for me, him being controlling, saying you can't control how I spend my paycheck, and then saying, oh, well, I need groceries, I don't want to spend my money, I'm gonna go, take from somebody else, not really thinking how it affects other people. To me, it's textbook. It's my textbook definition of a narcissist. It just very much screams entitled, and he kind of is like a con artist because he dresses himself up to go and take the groceries. I don't know if I could marry someone like that, because you're taking from less fortunate people. When are you gonna look at me as less fortunate and start taking from me? At some point it might just happen. I don't wish that on you, OP. I wish you the best. Hopefully you can work something out. But we're on to the next story. And that story reads, AITA for forcing my daughter to gut a fish. I, 38, have two daughters, 13 and 10. They are wonderful, and when I was growing up, I had to learn a lot of life skills. My wife and I have been teaching them life skills such as cooking, cleaning, and car maintenance. My oldest is older, so she gets much more hands-on experience. So this just sounds to me like a parent who is trying to raise their kids the way that they were raised, which is nothing wrong with that. But I'm sure that OP is a man. They don't specify if it's a male or woman, but I just assume that this is a man. So he's trying to raise his two daughters the way he was raised, but they're daughters. This summer we went camping and she had to make the fire and tent, get the feel for it. We went fishing but didn't catch anything. I went to port and I brought a few whole fish, not gutted. We live on the ocean. This is a life skill. It's common to buy fish whole. If she wants to eat fish, she needs to know how to gut them. Now, raise your hand if you think that if you want to eat fish, you need to learn how to gut them. Okay, everyone put your hands down. Now raise your hand if you feel like you can eat fish without knowing how to gut them. Okay, put your hands down. From what I witnessed, majority of you have let me know that you do not need to know how to gut a fish to eat them. Okay, I just wanted to make that clear before we moved on. So took it home and was going to teach her how to process a whole fish. I think it's important to do an understanding. It's a fish and she was grossed out, but I made her do it and then we cooked it. She went to my wife telling her I forced her to gut a fish. This resulting in an argument about forcing the kids to do stuff, but it's still a life skill and we forced them to learn how to cook and do laundry, so I don't see the difference. She is mad at me and so is my oldest. Okay. Your oldest is mad too. So it's very clear to me that this man, I'm assuming this man, I assume is a man, he wants a son, but he got two daughters and he's trying to teach his daughters to do things that they don't want to do, not realizing that they are daughters. And I don't know how his wife feels about this. Like, he didn't really express like anything that she said, but he's just kind of like, hey, you need to learn how to cook, you need to learn how to clean, and you need to know how to gut a fish if you're going to eat fish. Okay. And that's his right. But if they don't want to do it, they don't have to. In the story, he says he went to the port and specifically purchased a ungutted fish. I would assume, a lot of assumptions, but I would assume that you can also go to that same port and buy a gutted fish and you don't have to gut it. I really don't I really don't think you have to know how to gut a fish in 2023. I know where he's from, it's the ocean. They don't specify where it is, but I'm sure that there's a supermarket somewhere. If you live near the ocean, there's probably a lot of local fish meat shops somewhere that will provide gutted fish. I am 27. I've went 27 years without knowing how to gut a fish. Granted, I don't eat fish. I don't like the smell or the taste of it. I'm not into, the fishiness. I kind of get a little queasy. But off of me, back to the story, you don't need to know how to gut a fish in order to eat fish. I feel like the funniest thing about this story is that this man couldn't even catch a fish. He had to go to the port to buy one. So for him to be like, it's so important to know how to gut a fish, I think it would be even more important to know how to catch the fish first. Because if you can't catch any fish, there's no fish to gut. You see, so he's teaching his child the lesson there. Hey, I couldn't catch a fish, so I'm gonna go and buy one and then we're gonna gut it. Where the same thing can apply. It's like, I don't know how to gut the fish, so I'm gonna go buy gutted fish. Like, wouldn't that make sense? Does that make sense? That's pretty funny to me though. And for me, I just hope that he gives these girls a little bit of grace. I don't think it's that serious to know how to gut a fish. Obviously, it's not that serious to know how to catch a fish. It sucks that this assumed man didn't get the son he wanted, but who's to say that if he would have had a son, he would have wanted to learn how to gut fish? In conclusion, yes, you are the asshole. Leave your daughters alone. They obviously don't want to gut the fish. Your younger daughter and your oldest daughter that's older, they don't want to do it. Leave them alone. Yeah, so if they want their fish gutted, they can, potentially ask their future husband, or they can call their dad and have him do it. Or they can just go to the store and buy gutted fish. But anyway, this is the end of the video. Thank you so much for being here. If you watched to the end, I love you all, friends. Also, hit the subscribe button because, I'd appreciate that. Yeah, so I will see you next time. Peace.